Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I have a ketupat here. About our today's topic, lecture outline about the heritage interpretation. Okay, in this chapter, you will learn about the definition of interpretation and some of the principal guidelines, rules, and the issues. Yeah, okay. If you look here in this slide, the Sifu or the guru, the pioneer researcher who ventured into this interpretation research is Tilden, 1957. For him, interpretation began within the US National Park Service in the 1950s that helped the visitors to understand, enjoy, and care for the parks. And you need this interpretation because this interpretation will become the representative of that human being to educate the people who visit some sites. If you look here in the second paragraph, in Britain, while adopted in the 1960s, and in Malaysia as well, there are so many interpretations being installed at many historical sites, at many nature parks, okay, in lakes, in gardens, in mountains. Okay, you will see some of the information board, yeah, that tell about the background of the particular landscape. If you look this slide, interpretation is widely accepted as important ingredient in any tourism product, and it is very crucial and essential as well, and is critical for a tourism manager to install one interpretation board or information board at site, because the site would be able to tell about its existence to customers or to the visitors who visit ataupun berada di at that area. Okay, if you look here, what is interpretation? Interpretation can mean different things to different people. Yeah, because it differs about the level of knowledge of these people. Some of these people have a good historical background, some of them not. And then because of the different typology that we have covered before, some of them are purposeful culture tourists, some of them are serendipitous, some of them are casual, some of them are sightseeing. So that's why interpretation differs between individuals, but most important thing, the message is successfully conveyed if they can read or able to read the information board. Interpretation is simply a way of imparting messages to visitors in a memorable way. It's something that you convey a message to the visitor and then educate them as well. If you look, interpretation presents meaning or something through explanation, as this is some of the definition. Okay, if you look at the second as well, it tells or it emphasizes on the knowledge, the knowledge derived from study experience. Basically, the knowledge always gain if the visitors visit some historical sites, some museums, galleries, whatsoever. If you do have this ketupat, kelongsong ketupat, okay, if it is in the museum exhibits, then there will be some information about this ketupat. It is made of what? Pandan leaf, palas leaf, or coconut leaf. Dia macam tu lah. So it is made from coconut leaf. Okay, it is needs to become the young one, the leaf that is one young one, yang baru lah, daun ketupat yang baru tumbuh lah, bukan yang daun ketupat yang tua. Daun ketupat tua, it's a very dark green. This one is a yellowish green. Why yellowish green nak kena guna yang ketupat baru mana dia punya pucuk? Sebab you can easily anyam lah, dia tak mudah patah. Okay, alright, the model here. Okay, for interpretation there are two types of interpretation. First is human being and the other one is object. Object means the interpretation board. The other one is the tour guide or on-site guide who narrate about that landscape to the people. So for the person, it is known as attended, and the other one is unattended, non-person. All right. Okay, roles of interpretation. So you can read it on your slide. So one of it is education, and the other one is entertainment. Okay, entertainment example, there could be some pantone, some verses of singings in the information board, or some excerpt of the sayings by those heroes, or some hero personality that relate to that side. If you look here, the entertainment part is very important. Example, if you watch this wayang kulit, and then you will see some of the narration done by the Tok Dalang. Okay, the interpretation could also be supplemented with some audios. You see dioramas, you will hear musics, macam tu. And then conservation and sustainable development. Right, this is one of the most important part or roles of interpretation. So it engage the visitors on to safeguard and protect the landscape, the natural environment. If you go and visit the wetland, so you see the interpretation board right before your eyes. So um, the background is the landscape, the natural landscape. So in front of you is the interpretation, and the landscape that you are facing is a natural environment. Is as far as eyes can see, is a wetland. So the interpretation board tells and informs the visitors to take care and safeguard the environment. Okay, it tells about the historical landscape, about that wetland. So what are the species of birds, migratory birds, whatsoever. So you need to safeguard and protect some of the green, some aged trees. Alright. So that wetland and the vegetation, they are connected to each other, and they are informing the visitors about who they are. Alright, gitu cara dia. If you look here, Rennie 1980 identified 6 objectives of interpretation. Okay, this one you need to remember, yeah? To increase visitor understanding, awareness and appreciation of natural and cultural resources, to communicate messages related to nature and culture, including natural and historical processes, and then to involve people in nature and history through first-hand experience with the nature and cultural environment, and then to affect the visitor and attitudes of the public, to provide enjoyable, meaningful experience, and to increase public understanding and support for agency's role. Okay, this one is some of the sample of the framework for the interpretation of natural areas. On your left hand side, the education activity. Your right hand side, conservation supporting behavior. At the center is the recreational activity. Okay, you look here, at the center, environmentally stimulating, increased levels of enjoyment, makes being in natural areas a more rewarding experience because you are not alone. Okay, you are not alone. Even though they are always alone, but because you are traveling by yourself, you're traveling alone, but you gain lots of information from reading the information board. Okay, you will gain something. Okay, sometimes the interpretation board engage with some technologies by you need to scan the QR code. Then you just scan the QR code, then it leads to a link that a browser that you can look into the recorded video in the YouTube whatsoever. Okay, then there will be some of the simulations or some games, and could probably some videos or some role plays. Okay, if you happen to be in the Hang Tuah Museum, there will be lots of dioramas, movies, and then short drama, and then you will see some of these puppets, and then some of the incidents of this battle between Hang Tuah and Hang Jebat. Okay, There are so of this sailing of this Hang Tuah to China. Okay, those are some of the histories of some of the moments that you can gain when you are in the gallery. Okay, if you look here at your left hand side, right hand side, the under the conservation supporting behavior tab, look under number 2. Okay, visitors stimulated to adopt minimal impact behavior, and then increase visitor support for environment protection. So sometimes when you are at the river, then you will notice no fishing. It is some kind of instruction, ataupun dia kata beware of crocodile, kan, do not swim, macam tu lah. Now for this slide, the channels of interpretation: attended and unattended. Attended personal service and unattended non-personal service. Attended tu maknanya manusia, non-attended ataupun the unattended itu adalah the information board. Mudah je. If you look here, the non-personal interpretation service, campground, bulletin boards, and then exhibits. Okay, lagi apa? Lagi the interpretive signs, information station, lagi ada kiosk, ada free material, sales material, newspaper guide, brochure, map, tear sheet, recreation opportunity guide, safe guide trails, auto tours, and they are always radio transmission, sensory device, the relief model, the interactive video publication, after hours display. There are so many of them. Aquatic interpretation models of the landscape visitor center, asalkan anything about object ataupun benda that inform the visitors about the site. So they are known as the non-personal guide ataupun non-personal service, ataupun the exhibits. Senang ni ingatkan exhibit sajalah, alright, ataupun displays ke whatsoever. Asalkan bukan orang nama tu nama unattended ataupun non-personal. So basically kalau final exam, the exam ataupun the question ask the student at least five elements of non-personal service. Macam tu. If you look in this slide, summary of major interpretation techniques, okay, there are advantage and disadvantage. Publication and website. Cost effective, then there's no effective, and cost effective for the advantages, and the other one is a many possible distribution or access points with wide dissemination. Sebab publication website kan, publication ni macam buku-buku, artikel whatsoever, journal ke, and then di satu lagi tu website. Weakness dia ataupun disadvantage dia, there is no active visitor involvement, because it will always depend on the interest of the visitors. If they like to read, then they read. If not, they will just overlook. Itu sajalah. And does not necessarily create or cater for different visitor needs. Yeah, that's true. And then can be expensive, subject to frequent updates and alterations. That's true as well, because you need to identify your administrator or the webmaster. But the publication, if it is printed publication, it incur cost, incur lots of cost. For the visitor center, pusat-pusat pelancongan, okay, recognizable sites, example in the middle of a city, and the scope of application of wide range of techniques. Dia kalau dekat business center macam-macam ada lah, but basically dekat business center dia ada some of the collection of pamphlets or brochures, and then some other videos ke whatsoever, and then there will be some persons being stationed at that center to help and aid the visitors about the likelihood where they will be going to go at that specific landscape. Dia punya advantage, disadvantage can be expensive to set up. Ya, nak buat satu bangunan, nak kena buat satu unit, so it could probably expensive and may not be designed to cater to different audiences. Example, focus maybe entirely on school groups. For backpackers, they will always go for the visitor center because they will need to ask around. For the locals, they won't go to visitor center. If they feel that there is a need for them to visit the visitor, they'll visit. But most of them will always have their own planning by using their phone. Okay. Self-guided trail, always it is installed in any of the points of attractions in any tourism landscape, especially in heritage city. There'll be lots of points of interest, and then in front of the point of interest, then there'll be an information board, and beside the information board or beside of the stories in the text, in the textual mode, or the textual format, beside the textual format would be the map. So in that map indicates your location. Sometimes you will notice a map, then ditulis kat situ you are here, kan. And then beside it there's textual format, that is some of the written information about that site, kan. Macam itulah. And then from one point to another point you go at that heritage landscape or the heritage cities or whatsoever, then there'll be an invitation board or an information board installed in front of the point of interest. Okay, itu nak self-guided trail. Makna kata pandu sendiri, sendiri pandu, sendiri baca, sendiri go to one point to another point. Satu lagi guided touring. Guided touring ni maknanya this is on-site guide ataupun dikatakan tour guide ataupun dikatakan personal interpretation, maknanya melibatkan manusia. Okay, self-guided trail benda, kalau guided touring manusia. If you look here, very powerful and highly effective interpretation can respond to client needs. Information can be constantly updated. Interpreter can facilitate active involvement. To some of the many advantages if you use some ataupun a human being to help you or ease you around at that site, because they will be able ataupun he or she will be able to provide you direct first-hand information to the visitor. With regards to this advantage, if you use this guide touring, apa dia? Requires the availability of well-trained and effective interpreters. This is very important. Before you eligible to become a tour guide, you need to be assessed and evaluated in terms of competency first, especially about your knowledge about that site. And then a requirement for audience attention and commitment to be entirely successful. This is very important because you are speaking at public, so your voice needs to be articulated in a manner that attract people's attention. If your voice is too slow, people can't hear you, then it will not catch their interest to listen to your stories. Dia macam tu lah. Dia kena macam the very big, become very passionate tour guide. Macam apa ni, beria-ia dan bersungguh-sungguh. They should be so much determined. Next one, interpretation, planning, issues and trends. Planning is a way of organizing the future in order to achieve some desired goals. It is very important because there are so many of the invitation board, information board, or the stories installed at many of points of interest needs to be updated regularly. Alright, in terms of its writings, in terms of its spelling, in terms of its accuracy of dates, ataupun accuracy of fact, ataupun the way you use or sound, the way it sounds need to catch the attention from the people. Sometimes you can't use some of the bombastic words, very philosophical context, very hard to understand content. Sometimes it will not catch people's attention because it's difficult to understand, so you need to always organizing the content. Okay, so if you look at interpretive planning, has got a lot to do with creativity and intuition. So dia punya design, the way you might want to present the idea needs to be very creative. Okay, example here, if you look, this one is about the memorial Pengisytiharan Kemerdekaan. ada gambar, ada tulisan, so it will catch the people's attention instead of the a mere text, so it will create some boredom among the visitors. And then cerita lagi berkenaan this one. This is about the flower, about telling the visitors about our national flower, bunga raya, macam tu kan. And then okay, this is the before interpretation board at Makam Syamsuddin Al-Sumaratani. Begini before, so you might want to organize the existing current interpretation board to here to become like this. Dia macam ni lah, ada gambar, ada who is this share, kena tahu ada gambar, tulisan warna-warni macam tu, will catch the interest of people to read. And again before this one is a Masjid Kampung Keling kan. Masjid Kampung Keling macam ni, nanti kita tukar kedua, tereng, jadi macam ni kan. Nampak macam ada design color kan. You just need to transform from this to this. Dia macam tu. Okay, barulah nampak dia bermaya. Bermakna kata ada catch the interest among the visitors to read. Sometimes ramai orang students kata it is the fault of visitors not to know who construct the St. Paul's Church, ataupun before it's a chapel. Bila orang tanya who constructed it, tak ada seorang pun yang boleh jawab. And then menyalahkan visitors kan, menyalahkan semua, sebab semua information sudah ada tapi orang tak baca. Tu salah siapa? Kalau ikut Children Principle, interpretation board dia kena comply kepada 3 elemen. 3 elemen iaitu attraction power, engagement power and holding time. Tapi kalau tulisannya begini, sekejap ya, contohlah, kalau tulisan dah begini panjang, macam ni lah tulisan lah. Kalau tulisan dah begini, contoh kalau dekat St. Paul's Church interpretation board kan, made of engraved in granite. Kalau dah macam ni, macam mana orang nak baca? Orang malas nak baca kan. Siapa macam mana nak baca? Buat apa? Sebab tu orang malas nak baca. Dia kena buat dalam in this one. Ada grafik begini. And then memanglah dia tulis kat situ Duarte Coelho constructed the chapel, tapi orang tak baca, memang tak tahu. Tapi salah siapa? Sebab interpretation board yang ada di Melaka and any parts of Malaysia semua tidak follow the engagement power, attraction power and holding time. Dia tak follow the principle. Sedangkan dalam akademik dikatakan interpretation is an art. Art is seni. Interpretation itu satu seni kan, dia punya presentation itu satu seni, tetapi mereka tidak menghayatinya. Itu masalah. Okay, bila kita nak buat interpretation, kita kata why you want to communicate with visitors. Interpretation yang ada dekat Malaysia and many parts of in UNESCO World Heritage Sites, dia punya interpretation board ni dia tak berfungsi. Because it to what extent this interpretation board able to communicate with visitors kan. Yang tu yang kena identify. Yang lain-lain tu tak ada masalah kan, who your visitors are, what your place is like and what it has to offer. Yang ni semua tak ada. What else is happening, what you want to say about your play, how and where you are going to say, it doesn't matter as long as you do an interpretation board that engage with these 3 elements: engagement power, attraction power and holding time. Jadi macam manusia juga, dia ada attraction power, kuasa memikat, kan, tertarik. And then engagement power, bila kita pergi dinner, kita pakai baju cantik-cantik kan, tu nama dia attraction power. And then akan menyebabkan orang dekat kepada kita, itu namanya engagement power kan ada imputation bawah yang jauh, daripada jauh dah nampak macam ni. Ni benda baru cantik akan menyebabkan orang pergi. Bila pergi dia duduk sini ada engagement power. And then bila dia spend time reading from line to line and then from left to right, from the top bottom up segala whatsoever, and then have a look here at these objects kan, tu namanya holding time. Holding time tu makna kata how much time they spend in front of the interpretation board by reading the content. Kalau kita tengok, one of the interpretation which is very successful here in Malaysia is only dekat Makam Tun Teja. Pernah pergi Makam Tun Teja tak? Cantik interpretation board dia, funded by Bank Simpanan Nasional. Dia lebih kurang dalam 7 ke 8 interpretation board with artist drawing, dan dia draw Tun Teja tu cantik sangat, and it's an illustration impression. Sebab we can't imagine the looks of Tun Teja. Bila dia lukis Tun Teja tu macam cantik sangat Tun Teja tu. Macam itulah. Sebab tu raja pun terpesona dan nak berkahwin dengan Tun Teja. Okay, now if you look here, okay, now you look here, interpretation, planning, issues and trends. Tengok dia ada goals and formulation, situation analysis, synthesis of data. Okay, lepas tu ada recommendation, implementation. Habis dah. Lagi. Dekat Malaysia ni, dia daripada atas 1 sampai 5 je dia ada. Nombor 6 dia tak ada. Tu yang masalah kat Malaysia ni. Dia buat sampai 5 implementation, evaluation and monitoring tu tak ada. Makna terkata dia letak and then belah. Tak ada buat apa dah. Itu masalah interpretation yang berlaku di Malaysia. Evaluation and monitoring tu tiada. Makna kata tak ada orang kisah pun berkenaan dengan the successful and the effectiveness of the interpretation board, the implication of the interpretation board to the visitors knowledge. Tak ada orang yang kisah macam tu. Kerajaan pun tak ada nak membangkitkan berkenaan hal ni. As long as there is an interpretation board at that side, itu saja yang ada. If you have any question, you can always ask me in the comment section ataupun in chat section, in the link that I will provide later on. Okay, so I hope you always read these slides about interpretation. Okay, this is one of the important topics in the final exam that will always come out in the final exam. Okay, I'll see you in the next slide. Okay, okay, I'll see you in the next topic. Assalamualaikum, bye bye.